Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle, me. In my series Freemasonry and Satanism, I have a new book review, series number 153. Blood Passover. The Jews of Europe and Ritual Murder. So what is a blood libel? And what is the celebration of Passover, which is around Easter time, when Jesus was rose from the dead after 3 days of being in the tomb. You can see this picture. They're sacrificing a young boy to get the blood. There's a basin. So why am I talking about this? Here's the author, Ariel Toloff. I'm talking about it because I'm concerned about the New Age and the New World Order. Who's behind the New Age and the New World Order? Let me read from this book. The people who republished it, because the author withdrew the book under coercion of the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, the Jewish Anti-Defamation League. This translation was performed free of charge to protest an injustice. The destruction by the ADL, Anti-Defamation League, of Ariel Toloff's Blood Passover on Jewish ritual murder. The author is the son of a chief rabbi of Rome and a professor of Jewish Renaissance and medieval history at Bar Ilan University in Israel, just outside of Tel Aviv. Dr. Toloff is uniquely qualified to write this book, being thoroughly familiar with the derivative literature in English, French, German, and Italian, as well as the original documentary sources in Latin, medieval Italian, Hebrew, and Yiddish. This is not something he worked on in secret. If it had been published in Israel, in Hebrew, no one would have cared. There are large bodies of literature in Hebrew that Jews do not wish Gentiles, non-Jews, to know about. But Dr. Toloff's announcement of its publication in Italy in Italian raised a worldwide firestorm of fury. Under unbearable pressure, the book was withdrawn. So if the book was withdrawn, maybe it's something we ought to read. And the website where this book is bloodpassover.com. Completely revised and professionally edited. This is the only complete and correct English translation of the original, unexpurgated, uncensored first edition of Ariel Toloff's famous or infamous Blood Passover. So what is Blood Passover? So there's some notes here that are worth reading. You can go to this website and check it out. It says here there are only 25 copies of the original book in existence, and these people who created this site have one. There's only one that's for sale, complete with the original mark of the beast, the ISBN number. So they talk about people trying to duplicate this book in New Delhi, India. All they did was copy the PDF off of the Israel Shamir website, which is 8 years old, full of misprints and hideous formatting. So somebody wants to get this information out, and I discovered this book by accident. So you can go to this website, up-to-date PDF file, dated August 1, 2016, with spaces between paragraphs for easy reading. Ariel Toloff, newly invented fairy tale of the voluntary donors. And complete blood Passover, taking book minus footnotes. So the date of formal abandonment of this book, copyright, December 24th, 2014. And here are the names, August 12, 2016. Use this version. There is a reason for it. Read and pass on. Please mirror this site. Here's another website. So I was reading from the book. About this Passover ritual, the Jews of Europe ritual murder, blood Passover. So there's a couple reasons why they do these ritual murders. One is people pay big dollars for Gentile, non-Jewish blood, if it's from a boy under 7 years old, for their holiday celebration rituals and medical purposes, and to, I guess, vent their frustrations at their hatred of Jesus. So they like to have mock crucifixions of Jesus. Crazy, you think? I did make a video that I'm going to attach next. And after you watch the video I made where I show pictures and some text, I will be speaking with my face video on the latter part of this video. So please watch it all and realize that my goal is I want to find out who's behind 9/11, World War I, World War II, the New Age, the New World Order, and all this fear-mongering going on, and seemingly World War III threats. Even President Donald Trump in the news today, September 19th, declared he was going to destroy North Korea. And so there's been a lot of talk, and there seems like there's some looming destruction again, like 9/11. False flag shootings, bombings are going on. So who wants this new world order, the new age? Why do we have all these satanic symbolism rituals everywhere? TV, movies, programs, even programs called Lucifer, Modern Family, pansexualism, transgenderism. Is there something that we should know? And why, for 2,500 plus or minus years, did the Jewish people of the northern area, north of the Mediterranean, have problems wherever they went? And why were there many accusations of blood libel, young boys that turned up missing, and then when the bodies were found, it seemed like evidence of some kind of ritual murder? And apparently there was a black market for non-Jewish blood, Gentile blood from young boys. So watch this video and let me know what you think in the comment section after you finish. I found this book, Blood Passover, The Jews of Europe and Ritual Murder, by Ariel Toloff. Probably pronouncing his name wrong. In my research, and I've been reading it for the past few days, about Jewish ritual murder. Blood Passover by Ariel Toloff, translated into English, September 14, 2007. This was June 2012. Completely amazing book with some information that might help explain some things. Some of the chapters. Venice is in Italy. At Venice with Holy Roman Emperor Friedrich III, 1469. Chapter 2, Predatory Financier, page 35. Chapter 3, Ashar the Bearded Jew, 1475. So this author of this book was a Jewish professor in Israel. And when he went to publish this book, he got a lot of flack, as you can imagine, and actually withdrew the published book and told the publisher not to send out anymore. Ritual Homicides, or Grimm's Fairy Tales, Magical and Therapeutic Uses of Blood. So why do they sacrifice people? What kind of magical and therapeutic uses can you find? Crucifixion and ritual cannibalism, from Norwich to Fluta. Distant precedents of the saga of Purim. Sacrifice and circumcision. The meaning of Pishach, whatever that is. Blood, leprosy, infanticide. The memorial of the Passion, that would have been the crucifixion of Jesus. To die and kill for the love of God. Dig in the fig, ritual and obscene gestures. Israel's Final Defiance, page 209. So like I said, I've been reading this. Introduction. Actual politics is an interaction between realistic considerations, whether valid or mistaken, or moral or immoral, and ideological influences. The latter tend to be more influential, the less they are discussed and dragged into the light. In my view, Israel, as a Jewish state, constitutes a danger, not only to itself and its inhabitants, but to all Jews and to all other peoples and states in the Middle East and beyond. Professor Israel Shahak. Smarter guy than me. Another paragraph here. Sometimes in the late 1950s, the world-class gossip and occasional historian John F. Kennedy told me how, in 1948, Harry S. Truman had been pretty much abandoned by everyone when he came to run for president. Then an American Zionist brought him $2 million in cash in a suitcase aboard his whistle-stop campaign train, and that's why our recognition in the United States of Israel was rushed through so fast, he said. That was Gore Vidal. And one more little thing here. When it came to anti-Christian polemic, Akanat's Jews didn't beat around the bush. Professor A. Toloff, the publisher of this book. Listen to this. The cursing of the Sheminor. During World War II's Holocaust, there was a group of Jews known as the Catchers, who preyed upon their own for gain and survival. In addition to fondness for continued existence, a few of these sociopaths had a deep revulsion for their own kind, a loathing that had been traditionally shared by several European tribes. Catchers also had a tribal kinfolk at the top of the Reichsmaster's corps, including Hitler. Wow. So some of the Jews were preying on other Jews. his grandsire was a Jew. Is he talking about Hitler? Alfred Rosenberg, Hitler's chief ideologue, Max Warburg, Hitler's banker, Adolf Eichmann, a fellow megalomaniac, to name just a few. And there were many others, including Hitler's personal psychic, who predicted his ascension and later had a private Kilstenotch in the Black Forest. I guess that's some kind of resort. As well as several Jew members of little-known occult circles that elevated him to eternal infamy. So you can go find this book. It says here, Hitler's Jewish Soldiers, the untold story of the Nazi racial laws and men of Jewish descent in the German military. So the author of this book's a smarter guy than me. I read books and report. Anyone desirous of comprehending the German maladjustment as well as Zionism and fascism, there's synonyms actually. So Zionism and fascism, and they're accusing President Donald Trump of being a fascist and a Nazi, or their byproducts, the Holocaust and Israel, must come to terms with this strange creature called the Ashkenazi. And the Ashkenazi Jews are not the Sephardic Jews, which are original Hebrew Jews from the Middle East, brown people who lived in the desert. The Ashkenazi are from the north, up by Russia, Poland, Germany, that area, the Ukraine. And they were northern white people, a nation of Khazarians, who converted to Judaism 1,000 years ago. So the story is told. And it's in this book. Ashkenazi Jew, predominantly of Franco-German cum Khazar genesis. Consider the following statement, and you should understand the challenge. The Zionists brought us to the Holocaust. It is well known that it was possible to redeem Jews from the Nazis with money and save many. So the Jews did not have to die in Germany. They would have been freed, from my research in history, with money, or even if other countries would take them. But apparently back then, it was a plan to not take them. They were trying to direct the Jews they wanted to Israel. All hundreds of thousands of Jews in Hungary, but the Zionist leaders who now sit in government prevented. And this is by Rabbi Shalom Zalman Ederich. For centuries, Jews had ransomed their captives on the continuum, but World War II's Zionists prevented it, did they? One really should ask why, don't you think? Professor Toloff's Expose is a great aid in the pursuit of the answer, as it reveals the bizarre traditions, obscenities, holy homicides, extravagant ideations that have helped to create the greatest threat to mankind's equanimity history has yet to record. As I reviewed their history, I personally found them swaying between the extremes posed by Bacchus and Orpheus without ever touching the earth or heaven of Moses. The author is an eminent Italian Jewish professor, the son of a rabbi. So the author of this book that I'm about to go over is an Italian Jewish professor, the son of a rabbi, who explores the worldview and documented history with a specific regard to the highly contentious blood libel controversy, abducting and draining the blood from young boys in particular, but they have done young girls and young people to obtain the blood for certain rituals and magical uses. and medicines, I guess, also. Something those with ugly secrets adamantly avoid. It is an assiduous researched text that gives excellent grounds for pan-anti-Semitism. So a lot of these blood libels, these abducting humans for rituals, in Europe, the last 1,000 years, 500 years, was a lot of the cause for the anti-Semitism, and I guess that would be understandable. And regrettably, the Jews who were not involved in these blood libels, these witchcraft sacrifices, the other non-Jews who were not involved, would usually suffer the consequences also. Because the non-Jewish people, the Gentiles, didn't know. It allows the reader to comprehend why it is that Jewry has been persecuted throughout the 3+ millennium, 3,000 years of their existence. It seems the medieval Akhenats Jews, which are not Jews, they're white people from the northern area between Europe and Russia, from Khazarians, and they're called Akhenatsi Jews. It seems the medieval Akhenats world was perhaps, and still is, a sinkhole of extraterrestrial fears and magical thoughts born of the disturbed logic linked to unhinged interpolations and interpretations of otherwise sound scripture. It represents a mental framework that makes Homer Simpson look admirable, as it is far from cosmopolitan universalism as Homo sapiens are from apes. Shockingly, the Akhenats, it's got a little note here, burnt offering is an appeasing sacrifice to an angry God. It does not mean genocide or mass murder. It is a word that specifically describes the customary Hebrew sacrificial burnt offerings as per their tradition. The Akhenats' maladjustment holds an abject obsession with blood and other lust that embraced Holocaust and fantasies laced with vehemence, vengeance, patented pagan incantations like abracadabra, hocus pocus, witchcraft, that represent a kind of rites passage into the pan-communal psychosis. So pan means everything, like pansexual, have sex with everything. Pan-European mean turn all of Europe into one country. Panpsychosis. Truthfully, there is enough suitable content to make 1 trillion Freuds. Wow. Regrettably, the Akhenats Jew, perhaps others, is indeed fantastically Holocaust-minded and as rational as they otherwise are in matters of arts, finance, trade, and genetic skullduggery. The blood sacrifice, crucifixion, is an intimate part of their system of beliefs. Not that Christian acceptance of a bloody God-man sacrifice in return for redemption exempts trinarians from the ranks of the irrationality. Still, one should view the irony of having both parties accuse the other of profanity over the same crime, bloody homicide, as a contest on the maniac side of reason, no matter which side of the creedal fix they take. So there seems to be plenty of this viciousness, blood sacrifice on the part of the leadership of even the Vatican, trying to convert the world to Christianity, as there much was for some of these Akhenatsis or other Jewish people into mysticism and the Kabbalah, basically Satanism. So you don't have to be Jewish to be into Satanism, apparently. Reading on here, then I'm going to get to some pictures. Nevertheless, placing a rock of Abraham and Golgotha's fixation aside, as did Spinoza, on reviewing Dr. Toloff's rendering of the Akhenaten's Franco-German Judaism approach to the Passover, and in Egypt, before the Jews were delivered from Egypt with Moses, there was a plague, and one way to avoid the plague was to put blood on the top and the sides of your door. And when whatever spiritual power or entity was going from house to house to kill people, when they saw the blood, they would pass over that house. And Purim festivals. So there was everything to do with the Jews being delivered from captivity in Egypt, 3,000 years ago? And then 2,000 years when, as prophesied, Jesus arrived, and they rejected Jesus as the Savior and had him crucified. And another Passover that apparently is similar dates is Easter, when Jesus rose from the dead after 3 days of being in the tomb. So there's some interesting information here. One is impressed by the group's remarkable peculiarity. This is because it is not only singular, as compared with shepherddom, that would have been so-called the good Jews, the Hebrews, and the other Jewish sects or cults, but clearly based on sorcery, witchcraft, in which symbolism translate to communal incantations calling for the destruction of their enemies. That's everyone else is the enemies. And this pertains, in my opinion, to the New Age and the New World Order we're dealing with right now, with the annexation of the Palestinians' land in 1948 after World War II. The reason for World War I and World War II are the same reasons for the looming World War III, to bring about this destruction of their enemies, everyone else, accompanied by an abject lack of piety coupled to unqualifying impunity. There's some insanity here, I guess we could say. The wish for the forthcoming redemption of the people of Israel moved from aspiration to revenge. And then the cursing their Christian persecutors, also particular regarding the purpose of blood sacrifice, the current heirs to the wicked Pharaoh of Egypt. Just maybe a little explanation into the behind-the-scenes activity going on now, like 9/11, the war in the United States between the North and the South, the Civil War, trying to divide people, destroy nations. And they're doing that quite well right now, as we see in 2017. Even so, Christian and Jew look at ritual bloodshed as paths to salvation, as did pre-Columbians, ancient Celts, Germans, Greeks, Romans, and various other unredeemed humanoids. Both congregations offer apologetics for the nonsense and abject refusal to acknowledge receptive exiles from divine sanction, recalling, of course, the famous passages of the Old Testament in which God proclaims that he delights not in sacrifice, and that Jesus is prepared to tell a goodly multitude of so-called Christians, when it comes time to depart from him. All right, continuing on. My camera just decided to turn itself off. So when it comes time to depart from him, as they never really understood his mission, whereupon I suspect they'll be singing dirges with fellow bloodmongers in Gehenna. Not that any of these considerations prevented Aztecs, Dravidians, Acadians, or Occidental neocon cult killers, students of the Jew Leo Strauss, from applying heart-stopping protocols and drones of similar sentiment, sacrificing people? Keeping also in mind that Ashkenazi Judaism is anything but monolithic, one God, it appears from this and other readings that not a few of their super-Orthodox factions qualify as ultramontanes of Judaism's, if you will, placing them on par with the single-minded black-robed Jesuit enemies of common sense, whose founders were also, in fact, Marrano Jews, as was Mr. Columbus. So is he saying here that the Jesuits were Marrano Jews, as was Columbus? That's what it says here. This guy's a professor, Jewish professor, in Israel. He suffered a lot because of his research in publishing the book. He had to withdraw this book. But when reviewing the history presented by Professor Toloff, the reader must sympathetically recall the effects on children raised under these cults of misguidance. And if you go on YouTube or alternate websites, whatever, you will see many people who have escaped from the Illuminati and people who told the truth about Zionism and some of the Jewish activities. All right, back to the document. I got interrupted with my video. So these children raised under the cults of misguidance, and like I was saying, the YouTube videos, books published, websites about people escaping from Illuminati, witchcraft organizations, etc. Even the CIA people have left and told the truth. Plenty of evidence out there. But these people involved in these organizations, and also the children of these people, because they wind up being family affairs. The miscradled child naturally views parents and elders as spokespersons for the God they inherently believe in. Hence, when raised up accepting deviant ideas as gospel, unless graced by the intervention of true guidance, God willing, as in the case of Mohammed Assad, or the shunned or stepped on Spinanza, their interactions with and reactions to the human community demonstrate involuntarily maladjusted reflexes that are both offensive and defensive, which allows sober folks to comprehend the Israeli Rabbin of Palestine. So even the Jewish community, from my research, throughout history has avoided social interactions with the rest of us. Not all of them, of course. That the Son of Mary was commonly referred to as Jesus. They teach, I've got this in the Encyclopedia Judaica, I've gone over it in previous videos, but the bastard born of a whore by the Ashkenazim, is this what they teach? Is a fact as old as the lying sect itself. And I ask the reader to remember that most of what is related by the honorable professor is practice only. Get this, not all Jews, as I keep saying, but fundamentalist Orthodox Ashkenaz Jew sects. This would be the Khazarians, Khazars, who were into witchcraft and sorcery in the north, near Russia, the Ukraine, Poland, Germany, etc. It does seem that other outrages and similar problems did not even exist among the Italian Jews. The Shepherdem, these would be the Hebrews, original brown people, shepherds, hence shepherdim, of the Middle East, or Oriental Jews. And what none of these Jews you see on TV look Oriental. So they're Ashkenazi Jews, which are not really Hebrew DNA Jewish people. So the used to be who made up the overwhelming majority of the medieval Jewish world. A present-day Muslim analogy would be Islamists who force women to dress in gunny sacks and fall under the knife or hang for the sake of male chauvinism, a neo-patriarchal honor, a minority of racial morons, of course. So not all Muslims are like this. There is a minority of racial morons. Nevertheless, and unfortunately so, Ashkenazim crimes against good sense are far, far worse. So we need to identify who's behind the secret society, who controls our world right now, who's behind the newly created Israel, and why are they planning on this new age and new world order, and apparently World War III or something devastating to the planet. A plague, fake EMF, electromagnetic pulses, economic collapse. Notwithstanding this odious litany, the Jewish majority is now, get this, 80 to 90% Ashkenaz and rules as such. So these Jewish people who are not really Jewish people are now 80 to 90% of the Jewish world that we know and see, and are behind a lot of the things going on in the world. FEMA camps, Jade Helm 15, and spying on people. Especially since the ascension of labor Zionism, there was a shift that favored the once a minority's core doctrines. What's more interesting is that there are indications this also is by design, as most of the Jews sacrificed during World War II, search for the 6 million, another lie, were deeply and sanely religious Jews. I've been saying this for quite a while, and it's nice to see that a professor from Israel who's Jewish is saying what I've been saying, that during World War II, it was the evil Jews, the ones wanting the New Age, New World Order, maybe Ashkenaz, if all Ashkenazi Jews are evil, I don't know. But they were killing the Shepherdetic Jews, the religious Jews. Not only this, but contemporary neo-Israelis were forced to accept certain tenets of socialism prior toppling stakes in Israel. So there's a program called Aliyah. That means the return. And they've been forcing Jews from all over the world to return to the Middle East for the last 100 years. Hence, we had World War I, World War II, and so much artificially created anti-Semitism, inciting hatred among non-Jews to get the Jews to move back to Israel. Especially since America had been officially and purposely closed to Jewish immigration. They did this on purpose, even during World War II. But all of this aside, and much, much more, the post-World War I and World War II shift from Ashkenazi minority to majority presently demonstrates a renewed vigor. What once was mere rhetoric and invective presently translate to wholesale slaughter. Think about World War I, World War II, 9/11, the destruction of all the countries in the Middle East since 9/11, and so much more. Wholesale slaughter and or oppression of goys, non-Jews, wherever, whenever necessary, and whoever they might be. The irony here is that Christians also participate in the neo-Holocaust at the bidding of the misguided posterity that once was justifiably persecuted celebrant of the divinity forbidden, and still is, by the way. Hence, never again and Bush's crusade against terrorism have slightly different connotations when viewed under corrected illumination. So you have the Illuminati, Freemasons, Rosicrucians, all these secret societies, Bohemian Grove, Club of Rome, Council of Foreign Relation, apparently under the control of these witchcraft, sorcery type Akhenazi Jews and other people who have turned traitor to the rest of the world's peoples. That's what I think. The blood rituals described below are secret rites, the rules of which were only transmitted with due prudence and circumspection. Because Akhenazi rabbis taught we are permitted by God to use mysterious imagery. Of course, this occulted culture has permutations, some of which apply to initiation rituals involving Freemasons. All the things I've been saying here, this professor, Jewish professor in Israel, smarter guy than me, is saying in this document. The Pope's Knights of Malta, Columbus, as well as Papist Pendergast in drag, the Jesuits, the new Pope, in addition to the Lord Baldwin Powell's Boy Scout leaders, all of which bring a transcendent irony in that much of Western ritual has roots in Akhenazi magic drawn from the Baal Shem's Kabbalah. Here they're talking about the Kabbalah, the thing I've been talking about. This form of mind-bending sorcery, conditioning presents an ideographic, even patriotic symbols drawn from a deeply disturbed folk soul, and even includes the hand over the heart gestures so beloved of the unholy sausage eaters at ball games. So putting your hand over your heart saying the Pledge of Allegiance is one of their symbols. Funny. The cursing of the Shemanim is an Akhenazi tradition involved in Goy Canton, that means little Christian, Goy, and hematophagic, however you say that word, hematophaga, a form of ritual cannibalism not unknown to ancients of Akkad, who finally stopped sacrificing babies they called sons of God, born of once vested virgins, in lieu of the lambs of God some 5,000 years ago. Of course, we know that Akkad, Cain's civilization, was a precursor to Babylon, and that subsequent rabbinical, even Catholic, Papal Tala Christmas tree, tiara, traditions were bequeathed by the accused city where Jews were once enslaved, Egypt, and afterwards remained for over 1 millennia, 1,000 years, while perfecting their God-forsaken Talmud. That's the bad Jewish Bible book. It is no small wonder that the militant magi, magician, witchcraft, from both sides of the Cross's crusades, have ambitions to include the ancient orb of Urza Israel. So they want to create the state of Israel called Urza Israel. I've been going over this. And are presently pressing through Syria to annex Baalbek along the way. And Baalbek is an old ancient ruin, and Baal, Baal, is the devil. And they were trying to put the archway of Baal in New York and London. And later on I found out through UNESCO they were trying to put 1,000 of these archways of Baal all over the world out of the United Nations. It might be pleasant to interject some humor from Monty Python's Life of Ryan, but if that were done, the blight on the world at the hands of the Akhenazi, Theogamy, and Estotograph religious orders, how's that, might be ellipsed, which is not the purpose of this exposition. Therefore I ask the reader to be sober in the reading, and may the God of Abraham, Moses, Isaac, and Mohammed grant you discernment and everlasting mercy. So they used to sacrifice, like it says here, male children under the age of 7 years old. So I'm going to look at some pictures. I went on the Yahoo image site and looked up blood libels, blood sacrifice rituals of the Jewish people. And oh my, take a look at these pictures. So I went on the Yahoo image site and looked up the blood libel and Jewish rituals. And apparently this is one of the pictures. And there's links to these pictures. But apparently these people are into pedophilia and pornographic material quite heavily. They sacrifice lambs, as you can see here. It's got the red blood here. But they actually take a lamb and string it up like a human body, like they're crucifying Jesus. Again, Jesus was known as a lamb. And here we see a little poster, Jerusalem's latitude and longitude. They add it up and apparently it gets 666. I didn't know this. But you know, you're talking about Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Napoleon, Rome, Greece, Rothschilds. Rothschilds is the 8th beast, Revelation 17:11, according to this. And his mark is the 666 hexagram, which is on the Israeli flag, the mark of the beast, warning the Star of David is the beast. And there's books on the website when you go on Yahoo image site, when you look up Jewish Passover or Jewish blood libel rituals. And there's links to these books so you can get these things for your own research. Entertaining Demons Unawares. The Feast of Passover. So apparently they need human non-Jewish blood, especially from boys under 7, to put in bread and to put on themselves for magic rituals. Not all Jewish people, of course, but you can find these books. The Worldwide Passover Celebration of Jerusalem. For the first time ever, a former top New Age leader takes you on a dramatic journey inside the New Age nightmare. You can find these books and read them. I keep warning people about the New Age. Satan, Prince of the World, was at this website under Blood Libel Judaism. The Beautiful Side of Evil, Jehovah. Oh my. Hal Lindsey, you can go find this. The Beautiful Side of Evil. Aleister Crowley, known as the evilest man alive. Human sacrifices are today still practiced by Jews in Eastern Europe. That would be Ashkenazi Jews, not real Hebrews, Sephardic. As set forth at length by the late Sir Richard Burton in a manuscript which was what the wealthy Jews of England have compassed heaven and earth to suppress. So a lot of Jews who are not into this are trying to suppress this knowledge. Whether they're into it at all or not, I do not know. And evidenced by the ever-reoccurring pogroms against which so senseless an outcry is made by those who live among these degenerate Jews who are at least not cannibals. It is such people indeed that we are to look for the highest and subtlest spiritual knowledge. So Aleister Crowley, known as the evilest man alive, says that these Jews in Eastern Europe are still practicing human sacrifices, and they should not be looked on as cannibals, but that we should look to the highest and subtlest spiritual knowledge from these people. Oh, just see the source there, Aleister Crowley. In my Freemasonry and Satanism series, number 23, I went over one of his books, the Book of the Law, And the commandment from his God is do as thou wilt. You can do anything. And here's one of the old ancient pictures of sacrificing a boy with his arm in a pail to collect the blood. Anyone who allows evil to exist and remains silent is a part of it. I agree with that. This is the Professor Tolef here. Another book here, Arnold Lees, Asante Ritual Judeo. So I guess this is Jewish murder rituals. This is an Illuminati symbol that was on the website. Here's your obelisk, which is a phallic symbol. All kinds of Egyptian hieroglyphics, and the two-headed bird, the phoenix rising with the crown on top. Here's the ancient picture of the two Jewish guys and another Jewish guy holding this young boy, and of course cutting his throat and letting the blood go into the bucket. Apparently they paid a lot of money, the Jewish did, for the Passover holiday. They needed the blood to put in their bread, etc. So here they got another little boy in a basin down here full of red blood. He's putting pinchers on the boy to create all the holes. This is a satanic sacrificial ritual of a young woman. At this website, Blood Rituals, Jewish Rituals. And here's another picture, Arab Oregon Central. Understand in the Middle East right now, when they bomb a town, at night they send in a bunch of guys with stretchers to get a hold of the bodies to harvest all the organs. Some real sick stuff going on in our world. Another ancient picture, here's a baby on a skewer, another one poked. And this guy, this leader, is in a tub, and they're pouring blood into the tub of these young boys for some kind of medicinal or satanic ritual. And you can see all the bodies lying around. No kidding, they take bath in bloods back then. The main difference between Jews, Muslims, Christians, and Brahmins. Know the difference, it could save your nation. So I'll tell you now that a lot of us don't know the truth, but even the hierarchy in the Catholic Church, like the Jesuits, all the other secret society organizations, we need to watch out for these people. Blood libel, here is a rabbi, I guess, telling people on the street the truth. This is the author of the book that I'm going over. Another ancient picture, they put all kinds of holes in a little boy, and they have a little pail to catch the blood. You can see the blood squirting out here, over here in the pail. This one's coming down from the head. Highest prices paid for blood. Male Christian children only, maximum age 7 years. So they made a lot of money. People did this for money back then. Human sacrifice among the Jews. Here's a CD I guess you could go buy, advertised on this website I was looking at. Human sacrifice among the fanatical Hasidic Jews from ancient times to the present. So I say this, here's the Jesuit order at this website, the Society of Jesus. This is a picture of the Bohemian Grove with the owl, the place where Alex Jones snuck in there and videoed. A lot of presidents, CEOs, leading members of society dress in long robes, naked, and throw a baby into the fire under the giant owl called Moloch. Again, this was at the website when I looked up blood libel, Jewish rituals. Jewish occult murders, how and why Jews have sacrificed non-Jewish children as part of their religion. And areas where Jews were expelled from, banned, they were banned from Portugal, Spain, England, France, provinces, Germany, here, Austria, here, Lithuania. These are the dates: 1492, 1492, 1497, 1306, 1100s, 1,000 years ago, 1492. So they have this religion, and not all Jewish people, of course. There's an interesting picture that was there. Jews steal and sacrifice children and are feeding them to the Goy McDonald's. Who wants to believe this? I don't. But a Rabbi Abe Finkelstein, I mean, we steal 100,000 to 300,000 children a year just here in this country, and we drain their blood and we mix it with the Passover bread. And then we throw the bodies into the slaughterhouses that we own, and we grind it up. All the bodies and the sausage and hamburgers at McDonald's is one of the favorite outlets. I'm not going to read all this. You can go look it up, but oh my. And of course, the lamb represents Jesus, and they would sacrifice lamb pretending to crucify Jesus again. So they would hang the lamb up like a human and crucify him, pretending to crucify Jesus again. And not all Jewish people. The Lord's Supper, the Passover ritual. These books you can find when you go look up Jewish blood libels. Love, Work, and Death. Again by Mr. Toloff. They take this bread for Passover celebrations, and to make the bread they need some non-Jewish blood from a young boy. It's part of their ritual. Here's a bucket with a boy in it, apparently punctured with holes, and the blood is draining, and they're pouring the blood into a saucepan here. Here's a body on the floor, another body on the floor, a dog eating a body. And here they got another little kid that they're bringing in, so it seems. They pretend, they get young boys and they reenact the crucifixion of Jesus. Not all Jewish people, of course. Look at this picture I found on the website. So back then when the Jews were rescued or helped to escape captivity by the Egyptian Pharaoh, the Egyptians, when the plagues were coming, one of the symbols was to put paint on the side and the top of the door so that the evil spirits or powers would pass by the house and not kill the people. A people that shall dwell alone. Judaism as a group evolutionary strategy with diaspora peoples. So plenty of book written by this, Kevin MacDonald. Passover. We need the blood of a Christian child. And here we have something interesting. I found this picture on the website. Author of Crime and Punishment seems to offer written things that would have see someone in prison, 21st Britain. But many have defended him against allegations of anti-Semitism. In his 1880 novel, The Brothers Karamazov, the character Lisa, a 14-year-old girl, says, "It is true that at Easter and Passover is the same word in Russian, Yids steal children and kill them. There is a book here in which I read about some trial, and a Yid who took a 4-year-old child and cut off the fingers from both his little hands and then crucified him on the wall, hammered nails into him, and crucified him." So my reason for this video is, what are we dealing with today with the new age, new world order, G5 microwave network coming online that a lot of people are saying is a threat? Dumping chemicals in the sky, HAARP microwave transmitters, controlling the weather, and all this other satanic rituals we see. Emmys, Grammys, Super Bowl halftime shows, tunnel openings, a goat projected onto the Hoover Dam, the goddess of Shiva destruction on the Empire State Building, a Eurovision with Conchita Wurst winning it. So Ritual Murder Revisited, you probably can find this video on YouTube. The Hidden Cult. Here's another old picture. See the dead bodies on the bottom here. And they're punching holes in the little boy, putting it in a pail. Some kind of childlike drawing. Some kind of weird art. Obviously a sacrifice. Another one, hanging him from a tree, draining the blood. Here's the knife. The Myth of Ritual Murder. Jews and Magic in Reformation Germany. And I want to point it out again. We're dealing with secret societies, Kabbalah, mysticism, and witchcraft, sorcery type of cults. This is called the New Age. A lot of people don't know what it really means. They talk about ascension, biodiversity, sustainability. They don't tell you this. When they do 9/11, it was a satanic ritual murder. World War I, World War II, Holocaust, bombings, shootings, the dates they have those events, the addresses where they have those events. How do we celebrate Passover? The first and 7 days are holy days of rest and should be kept like the Sabbath. All things unlawful to do on the seventh day. Do not eat any food or leaving, e.g. yeast, baking soda, baking powder, baking ammonia. This is the cover of the book I've been reading. Another ancient picture. Here's a guy in a tub. There's a little boy. They're filling it up with blood. Here's the index of the book I'm reading. The Memorial of the Passion, to die and kill for the love of God, doing the fig ritual, obscene gestures, Israel's final defiance, sacrifice and circumcision. Anyways, crucifixion and ritual cannibalism, magical and therapeutic uses of blood. Another picture of a boy on an altar being bled. Another picture, ancient times. This is why a lot of anti-Semitism happened in Europe, all over the world. You just saw the pictures earlier of the places where Jewish people were banished. And regrettably, a lot of Jewish people who were not involved were blamed for this also. So here's the guy in the tub, the pictures, and all the dead children. Here's another one. Another one. Israeli newspaper. Professor who claimed Jews use Christian blood in Passover ceremonies defends his book. I will fight for my truth even if I am crucified. The author of the book on the use of blood by Jews in Ashkenazi communities in the Middle Ages said yesterday in the face of the furor of public, that's why he withdrew the book. The whole world attacked him. Blood Passover, the Jews of Europe and ritual murder, Ariel Toloff. Another ancient picture, puncturing holes in the little boy, capturing the blood in basins. Alright, so I showed the pictures. You can go on the Yahoo image site, put in the Jewish blood rituals, blood libels, these words. You can find these pictures, you can find the links, and you decide what's real and not. And just remember, there's all these seemingly catastrophes coming, Planet X, World War III, plagues, all these things they're doing, Jade Helm 15. You just have to wonder who's behind it. What do they have planned? After watching the first hour of this video, my opening plus the video I made, you might ask, Rick, why are you pursuing this line of investigation? Well, I'm glad you asked. These are the books in my bookcase, almost 200 books, that I have made video series out of, almost 350 videos, 500 hours of material. And when I started this, I had no idea where this investigation was going. But I think the first video, I don't think, I know, was on the Freemason Bible, series number 1. And when I look at the Freemasonic Bible, on the inside cover are some pictures. Connecting the dots of King Solomon's temple in Jerusalem, and seemingly also the Egyptian hieroglyphics in the Freemason edition of the Bible. So I had been reading books for about almost 10 years, and I thought it was time I started sharing what I had learned. And I did get this in the mail probably a day before or two that I started making a video series, that I came up with the idea of Freemasonry and Satanism. So this is the first book, and it's a Freemasonic Bible. And it has all of the pictures in here reminding me of King Solomon's temple. Can't see, I apologize. And I knew that King Solomon had a magic 6-pointed ring where he could call forth demons, hence Satanism. And series number 69 was on this book, Bloody Zion, another famous author, Edward Hendry. So I made several videos on this book, series 69, Freemasonry and Satanism, you can go watch. And another book I found, The Ongoing Plot to Rule the World from Biblical Times to the Present. You can go find this book. Watch my video, series number 68, by Peter Christian. Secret Societies and Subversive Movements. Even in the Encyclopedia Judaica, it clearly indicates, says, that historically the Jews were behind revolutions. So Nestor Webster, I made several videos on this book. Series number 70. So in my investigation, trying to figure out what the heck is going on in the world with this looming World War III, 9/11, World War I, World War II, bombings, terrorist attacks, and all this dividing of the peoples with all this propaganda, whether it's a white supremacist group or a black supremacist group, Women's March, Gay Rainbow Parade, conservative, liberals. Why are they trying to destroy the world as we know it? And has it been planned for a long time? After almost finishing 13 years of research, I can tell you that it's been planned for a long time. Here's another book, series number 129. The Marxist Minstrels. We all know there are some albums you can play backwards, and it sounds like the devil. We know the crazy, demonic, vicious movies on TV. A handbook of communist subversion of music, and I suppose today you could add movies and TV programming, magazines, billboards, and all kinds of other rituals, even during Emmys, Grammys, Super Bowl halftime shows, etc. On and on, even tunnel openings in Switzerland. What are they doing? I've been going over witchcraft and mysticism. Major trends in Jewish mysticism by a famous author, Gershom Scholem. Regrettably, I can't show you all my books on this topic. Anyways, that was series number 120. the Holocaust dogma of Judaism. Even that monster drink you can go buy, the beverage, it has 3 of these symbols on the front of the bottle. You know what that means? That's a 6. So if 3 of these are on monster drink, that would be 666. And there's always been a lot of people killed, World War I, World War II, French Revolution, Russian Revolution. But this is the first time they've said there was a Jewish Holocaust. And apparently they're using that issue to create a new religion. According to this book, series number 90, and Tex Marr's book, The Holy Serpent of the Jews, series number 91, the 6-pointed star like King David's ring, who could call forth demons. The New World Order, which seems to be behind all of this, controlled by the Zionist Illuminati, Akhenazi type Jewish people seeking world domination, a Jewish utopia. And I made a video on that book, A Jewish Utopia. Series number 67, if you go look it up. This is series number 94. Henry Ford, the automaker, did all these books. Look what it says on the front of this book. The International Jew, the world's foremost problem. I don't have my computer situated the way I really want it, so I'm leaning over. Apologize. Aspects to Jewish power in the United States. So why am I focusing on the blood libel where apparently for a couple thousand years, when young bodies of little boys were found, the Jews in the area would suffer some hardship from the repercussions. And it wasn't all Jewish people, but regrettably, the citizens, whether it was in Germany or Spain or Britain, didn't worry about that. They took revenge out on all the Jews. The Jewish History Atlas. I've made video with this 118. Where they traveled, where they were exiled from, banished from. A Jewish author in Canada, Henry Macau, wrote this book, Illuminati, the cult that hijacked the world. So apparently a lot of the elitist, utopia-seeking Jewish people, Akhenazis, there's 2 types of Jewish people generally, there's probably more, but the Shepherdetic, which are the original Hebrews, Middle Eastern brown people, and the Akhenazis, a country up by the Ukraine, Russia, Poland, Germany, Khazaria, the Khazars, who converted to Judaism 1,000 years ago, a group of people, a whole nation known as very barbaric people, very white people. And now 70-80% or more of the people in Israel are the Akhenazi Jews. And apparently they're into some kind of Kabbalah, mysticism, Luciferianism, Satanism, sorcery, witchcraft. Hence they call them the Illuminati, with the all-seeing eye you can see there, which is also on the US $1 bill. And so much more. If you wonder why I'm pursuing this line of investigation, because I know they have something planned and they're forcing this new age, new world order on us. Pansexualism, transgenderism, biodiversity, sustainability, and discrediting Christianity and probably making it eventually illegal if you mention that you believe in Jesus or whatever. But even Fritz Springmeier did this book, Bloodlines of the Illuminati. The symbols are everywhere, with the globe in the middle here. The sun's rays behind it. Reminds me of the Planet X, Nibiru, the Anunnaki aliens, the Egyptian hieroglyphics, Isis, Osiris, Horus. I'm starting to connect the dots. And apparently the Jewish Mossad, the Secret Service over there were some clues, plenty of them in this book and many others, indicating that Israel might have been involved in 9/11. And of course, the old adage is follow the money. We know that after 9/11, almost all the countries in the Middle East have been overthrown, towns and cities bombed to smithereens, and you can find maps for a greater Israel on the Yahoo image site and other places on the internet. Another book here by a channeler, Burnt Offerings and Blood-Stained Sands, Psychopolitics and Sacrifice of the Phoenix. I've made one couple videos, I think, on the Phoenix journals. So this is one of the journals here. So I need to continue doing that, making more videos on all of these books I've made videos on. But I thought I would just read from this little bit here on page 52 out of this Phoenix journal. Sunday, January 6, 1991. Let us immediately move on to the Russian textbooks. Psychopolitics, mind control. This is going on rampant right now, even bringing us the 5G, fifth generation microwave telecommunication system, which is supposed to connect to a beast computer and everything on the planet. Your car, maybe your toaster, your phone, your TV, your iPad, cameras in the streets, everything will be connected to this computerized system. The mark of the beast. Everybody will be monitored. I realize that the flood of objections is flowing back. How could this be true? No, you must have just written this material, etc. This is the Phoenix Journal. No, dear friends, it was written first as a portion of the protocols of the Zionist men of wisdom. Remember that the Zionists, as they are represented today, came out of Russia. That would be Khazaria, Khazars, Ashkenazi Jewish people. They were the Russian Khazars. As the protocols became taught and active within the more modern setting, the mandates became taught under the guise of communism. And then, of course, last year, November, December, I found out about the Encyclopedia Judaica, a series published in Israel and another series published in New York City in 1973. A truckload of information. I have all 16 of these. It would be this wide. And I've made a lot of videos out of the Encyclopedia Judaica. So it's just appropriate after all this work. And I haven't shown all the books concerning this Zionism, communism, Illuminati, Freemasonic, Jesuit organizations, apparently with the Ashkenazi Jews and other people into the occult, witchcraft, and sorcery. You don't have to be Ashkenazi or Jewish, whatever, to join these things. Apparently the Church of Satan is one of the fastest growing churches in the country. So there's a lot of propaganda out there. But these are the books here that I've made videos out of in my series up to, this one is 153 on the blood rituals. So I thought I would just share all that, why I have done this, why I'm looking into it, trying to understand what is magic, why do they do these blood rituals. So I'll read a little bit from the chapter 3 of the book itself that I showed at the beginning of this video, and you decide what you think. Alright, here we go. Ashar, the bearded Jew. This is page 63, chapter 3, the book, Blood Libel, Jewish Blood Rituals, that I just showed you, talked about, has 363 pages if you go look it up and read it for yourself, PDF format, at that website I showed at the beginning of this video. So Master Tobias de Magdeburg, the physician from Trent, who reached Venice in February 1469, you're going to see this problem has been going on a long time. During Friedrich III's visit, so that would have been the leader of Rome, the emperor, to Venice, Italy, had other information to be supplied to the judges investigating the death of little Simon. So little Simon was shown in a few of those pictures earlier in this video. Another little boy that was abducted and used to procure his blood for Jewish magical rituals, Jewish medicines, they say, and apparently also in their Passover, mixing it with bread, the blood, and also sometimes they do these rituals and have mock crucifying Jesus again, even with little boys or lambs. His news was disturbing, linking the German Jews, there we go, from Germany, from Poland, from Ukraine area, Western Russia, reaching Venice in the emperor's train with the personage of the Canadian merchant David Montfort-Groton and his mysterious dealings. It seems that Montfort-Groton, for the occasion of the imperial visit, had brought with him, perhaps from Cyprus, that's that island off the coast of Israel today, a large consignment of sugar and blood to be peddled on the Venetian piazza. These were expensive ingredients indispensable to the preparation of medications and unguents considered of certain effectiveness and of great advantage for the pharmacopoeia of the time. And it is not to be marveled at that the shrewd merchant of Candia intended to offer them for sale at Venice, where all the Jewish physicians, surgeons, herb alchemists, and specialists, both Christians and Jews, had agreed to meet on that occasion, attracted by the prospect of a flattering and profitable imperial recognition. So whenever the emperor came into the area, he would bestow medical degrees on people and other privileges and rights. So it's like a big festival when he shows up. The emperor of Italy, apparently the emperor of the world at that time. But according to Maestro Tobias, these German Jews who turned to Montfort-Groton in great numbers, known by them as the Jew with the sugar, to acquire the precious goods he had for sale, were in fact seeking to purchase Christian blood, and in particular the blood of Christian children, for use not only in the preparation of costly and miraculous medications, but also obscure magical and religious rites as well. David Montfort-Groton, I'm saying his name wrong, I apologize, had no intentions of dirtying his hands directly in negotiations of this kind, but used as a go-between an unscrupulous local charlatan, a certain Hozar or Ozar, which rendered in the Ashkenazi, Khazarian Jewish people, not Hebrews by DNA, but a nation 1,000 years ago that converted to Judaism, who were also renowned for being a very barbaric people. And apparently the Judaism that many of them converted to was mysticism and Kabbalah, which I describe simply as witchcraft and sorcery, which, by the way, a lot of Kabbalists throughout the last 1,000, 2,000 years were accused of witchcraft and sorcery. David Montfort-Groton had no intentions of dirtying his hands, so he had a go-between, rendered in the Akhenaten pronunciation the name Ashar, corresponding to the Italian Asamo. This Jew from Cologne was known all over Venice as the Jew with the beard. So I'm just trying to connect the dots and finish this video here. So I thought I would read from this portion of the book that you can go find, PDF, free online, and read the entire thing for yourself. I think I'm up to page about 150 out of 363. And I will continue to read the second half of the book and probably make another video eventually. The name of this Hozar, dedicated to shady dealings between the Venice and the cities of the mainland, were linked twofold to the Mero Granato, appears in the depositions of another important personality in the Trent trials. So they had trials in Trent about that little boy Simon that was abducted and ritually murdered. Israel, son of Meir of Brandenburg in Saxony, was a young man 23 years old, an itinerant artist by profession, earned his money as a miniaturist. So I suppose he made little miniatures of things, maybe even miniatures of people and other statues. He was a miniaturist, made little tiny things, even painted on them. And in the case in question, a binder of manuscripts, that was his other profession, and Hebraic and Latin codes. He too was arrested in 1475 in Trent under the accusation of complicity in the killing of little Simon. He was to prove a bold and shrewd double dealer, agreeing in appearance to convert to Christianity. So a lot of times you could get out from under a death sentence if you got caught in some of these dastardly deeds, if you agreed to convert to Christianity. The name of Wolfgang, not just to save himself from a certain and cruel condemnation of death, but above all, camouflaged by conversion to assist the Jewish woman accused and arrested for the crime, obtaining their release or facilitating their escape. Once discovered and unmasked, he was publicly executed. Wow. In January of 1476, his body, broken on the wheel, was to be left at the place of execution, a spectacle of public mockery and a feast for animals. That was a tough time to be alive, you think? And they want to bring us back to a barbaric age with chaos and anarchy. They want to destroy society as we know it. If you don't know what that means, you might want to wake up. What's coming is not going to be nice. They want to bring us like a Hunger Games movie type of thing, or Mad Max. Israel Wolfgang had informed the judges at Trent that he had been Solomon de Prove de Sacco's guest in the spring of 1471 for a Passover dinner, that's a Jewish holiday, with the participation of the banker's son, he was a banker, David Marvra Granato, I keep saying that wrong, business associates, and their respective families. The patron of the house was said to have made use of dried and pulverized blood for ritual purposes, as was the custom among German Jews, dissolving it into wine and kneading it into unleavened bread. Under these circumstances, Solomon's son, Salomonsinio, in the presence of the brother Markersinio, is said to have informed young Israel that the blood probably extracted from the veins of a Christian child had been supplied by a Jewish merchant who had brought it from overseas, perhaps from the island of Cyprus, eluded by means of this periphorus. This was a circumlocution, to Murogonato. So apparently they carry it in small little steel containers lined with tin. What is more, Salamacinio confirmed that the go-between in these sales was, as usual, Hozar or Ashar, whose business it was to sell blood from Venice to the other centers of the Republic in which there were active Jewish communities. So in one sense, this may not even be a Jewish conversation, although historically, according to the Encyclopedia Judaica, the many Jews were involved in revolutions and the Kabbalah and mysticism. So it really makes you wonder how many of these people were into witchcraft and sorcery. How big is this? And a lot of Jews are not into this, or what you call Orthodox Jews, God-fearing Jews. And they've been trying to warn and have warned the rest of us for the past couple thousand years. A lot of people, remember Jesus was Hebrew Jewish. And the Christian world is about 1/3 of the religious world. So our Savior, the messenger sent from God, is Hebrew. So it would be kind of hard for all we Christians to be anti-Semitic when our Savior is a Hebrew. And a lot of other Jewish people have been killed in the last couple thousand years who did not go along with the reformed Ashkenazi Jewish people. And I don't know about any of the Shepherdetics, but some of them into the Kabbalah or mysticism may well have been into this stuff. They were known as magicians and certain types of doctors, not the type of doctors we have today. But back to the book. Just having a conversation here. I want to find out what's behind this seemingly world destruction. Sky spraying, chemtrailing, HARP, microwave transmitters, electronic surveillance systems, and all the things that have already happened. Many nations have been destroyed. Presidents have been assassinated. Confessions of an Economic Hitman, the book by John Perkins, intentional economic destructions of countries so they go bankrupt so that they can be forced into the one world banking system. And it is by no means over. It seems to be accelerating. Today's the 19th of September, and they are even saying the 23rd, Saturday, a couple days, is supposed to be some big prophecy as detailed by the movement through the constellations of the sun and the moon, fitting some prophecy exactly. I think this stuff is important. A lot of people have seen the videos, been watching my videos, and probably talking to the choir. It's the other people who don't know what's going on that need to wake up and watch some of my videos or other people's videos. The famous moneylender Solomon de Lazaro from Germany, active at Crema and Cremona, was also an odious client of this itinerant wanderer, Wolfgang, known Hazar personally, and visited Hozar in prison near the Point de Palais in Venice, where he was detained for attempting to sell alchemical silver, counterfeit money. The reasons for this strange visit are not clear, nor did Wolfgang bother to explain. Perhaps it would not be too far from the truth to think that he intended to supply himself with powdered gold and silver at advantageous prices from the capable and expert dealer which Hozar was reputed to be, for use in miniatures of any codes which he might be commissioned to paint by rich and influential persons. This is an interesting conversation about history back then. This might explain the presence of the enterprising artist Prove de Sacco in Solomon's house, whose table would otherwise be inaccessible to a young man of low rank and without resources like him. Wolfgang had furthermore come into contact with Hozar before, knew that the alchemist was of dubious reputation, lived near the Rialto in the direction of Mistra, and might be about 40 years old, dressed in black and wearing a beard of the same color. At Venice, Hozar was known by boys as the Jew with the beard. Hozar had a brother some years older than he, called Big Salamencinio, due to his stature, and perhaps to distinguish him from the Salamocino de Prov, whose presence in the heart of the Jewish community of Venice and at the official ceremonies of the synagogue must have been frequent. According to Wolfgang, who made his depositions before the judge of Trent in November 1475, Hozar Asimala, the Jew with the beard, had died about 6 months before, perhaps in prison. The information supplied by Israel Wolfgang of Brandenburg in his testimony is exactly and in very much ways, surprisingly, confirmed by the archived documents. Hozar Asher, with the beard, was in fact tried at Venice on 3 September 1473 on the accusation of selling 2 bars of false gold, i.e. silver covered with a foil of gold powder, to an artisan in that city. After having extorted a fraudulent official registration from the assayer of Rialto responsible for the stamping and weighing of gold, Hozar with the beard was sentenced to 6 months in prison and stricken from the registry of bulk gold and silver dealers at Venice. He was also said to have been compelled to compensate the victim of the swindle for the economic harm done before serving his term of imprisonment. So obviously these people we're talking about here, these Ashkenazi Jewish people in the northern Italian area, Germany and surrounding areas, were into criminal activity, like a lot of the people who are controlling our world right now, the high-level Freemasons or Illuminati, Zionist, Communist, Bohemian Grove, Bilderbergers, Club of Rome, Knights of Malta, Knights of Columbus, and a lot of these organizations, it isn't all the lower people. They recruit the real criminals from the groups when they can hand select somebody who they believe will go along, or who can be bribed, or is just basically evil, greedy, and perverted. Back to the book. Strangely, the clauses of the sentence hint at the eventuality of an escape from prison by the Cologne-born Jewish alchemist, or his death in prison. So again, the author of this book, this is his writings. You can go get that PDF document and read it at your leisure instead of listening to me. But if you don't mind listening to me and it's helpful, I'll continue on. In effect, as reported by Israel Wolfgang to the judges at Trent, Hozar died in the first few months of 1475, and may be that he was still in prison. It is therefore surprising that the Venetian judges should provide in advance for such eventuality, almost as if they knew for a fact that David Margronotto, those unscrupulous ex-right arm man dedicated to mysterious illegal dealings at Venice, where he was known by all, both Jews and Christians, had powerful friends in the mainland financial centers capable of helping him break jail or of silencing him for good to prevent him from revealing his embarrassing secrets. Salamencinio de Prove, who was perfectly well aware of the German alchemist activities, may have known him personally during his stay in the Venetian prisons, near the Ponte de Paglio, of which he was an influential and odious inmate. just what the artful German herb alchemist Hozar was selling on all those frequent trips which took him to the cities of Veneto region, apart from the medicinal blood and quack remedies of miraculous effectiveness and bright and treacherous silver of alchemy, in the manufacture of which he was considered a specialist, remains unknown. It is, however, certain that the merchandise to be found in Hozar's Hooversack, according to Salomonsenio de Proof, included one particular item purchased from an itinerant merchant named Albreno, stopping by Trent in 1471 on his way from Saxony to Fritta or Brezzano, and that this particular item was considered particularly valuable. According to Wolfgang's later statements before the Trent judges, Albreno's clients, including the physician Tobias de Magberg, Alamo's red leather pouch with its waxed bottom, in fact, concealed a certain amount of blood to be put up for sale. Clotted blood, coagulated and reduced to curdles or powder, as was normal practice, to cause it to harden over time. According to Maestro Tobias de Mackenberg, many of the Jewish and German merchants who reached Venice in 1469, along with Friedrich III's, the emperor's baggage train, intended to supply themselves with the blood of Christian children for the Passover rite. Blood which Mauro Granto was said to have brought from Candia or Cyprus on that occasion. It does not appear that the Jews of that island had ever been accused of ritual murder at that time, yet Jewish Passovers at Candia in the mid-15th century were anything but tranquil affairs, and were often the source of scandal and clamorous indignation. Moving on here, page 66. During Passover week 1451, the Jews of the ghetto of Candia were accused of crucifying suckling lambs, perhaps due to the impossibility of procuring Christian children. So they would hang a lamb up like a human being and crucify him, pretending to crucify Jesus Christ again. Anyways, this is not necessarily Professor Toloff's opinion here. He is summarizing the Latin, and there's a Latin statement here, in contempt of the Christian religion, with a grotesque and sacrilegious anti-ritual. So this is a fact, and this is not arguable, that there's many Jewish people who hate Christians. I've read articles on the internet, people writing reports that even on American universities, between the Jewish professors and the other people, non-Jewish professors, there was an obvious hatred that the Jewish professors looked down upon or despise the non-Jewish professors. And we all know that Hollywood is largely a Jewish-controlled organization. You make jokes about it now, that a lot of the comedians are Jewish. And the movies are obviously anti-family value Christian. So the world is being influenced by all this propaganda. So I thought it'd be interesting to read and look into this topic, and in the pursuit of trying to figure out how they use these sacrifices for magical rituals. And I think apparently, according to my research, it's to please some kind of gods that they think that might be angry, or to please some kind of gods to get special favors. A kind of an insane religious concept, but yet it appears to be true. Back to the book. The symbolism of the suckling lamb placed on the cross, so they would actually hang a lamb on a cross, seemed obviously linked to an intolerable and obviously obscenely blasphemous manner to the Passion of Christ and the Agnus Dei, Lamb of God. Jesus is known as the Lamb of God. The accusation does not appear to have been completely groundless. Remember, this is a professor, a Jewish professor in the Israel, who wrote this book. Smarter guy than me. So it says the accusation does not appear to have been completely groundless. And when I started my investigation in 2005, 2007, 8, 9, 10, I was watching or reading the Jerusalem Post newspaper online in English quite often and printing out the pages. And a lot of the Jewish people in Israel were saying very hateful things about Christians and Jesus, things I care not to repeat. They are so disgusting that people would think that way. All right, back to the book. The accusation does not appear to have been completely groundless in view of the ancient Hebraic custom of roasting the Passover lamb skewered on the spit of a vertical position with the head upwards to ridicule and deride the crucified Christ. Just how widespread this custom was is difficult to determine from either a chronological or geographical point of view. So again, I want to say, we have to keep a rational mindset about this. But why would they be having, and it's not all probably Jewish people, a lot of other people who call themselves Christians or whatever, mercenaries or people who can be bribed and paid for, greedy, wealthy elites, Illuminati types, people who have families have been in politics, who have a lot of money and a lot of expensive overhead that need more money. They're going to fight to maintain their lifestyle. So somebody has to suffer. The money has to come from somewhere. And again, you don't have to be Jewish to belong to these people who are high-level Illuminati people, Bohemian Grove, witchcraft organizations, sorcery, occultic, Kabbalah, mysticism, and all these many, many different cults and religious organizations, even Church of Satan, Rosicrucian, a lot of them, and they're behind the New Age and New World Order, which a lot of people are falling for, channeled material, I feel. Even Jesus said you can't trust the spirits or entities you're communicating with. You have to test them. So there does appear to be this world that we all should become aware of and realize the intentions of this world, these elitists who control our world and are dumbing down most of the world's people in the school systems and everywhere else, assassinating people who learn too much, even presidents, even President John Kennedy, Abraham Lincoln, and other USA presidents, and presidents of Panama, Costa Rica, Iraq, Libya, Egypt, Ukraine. Can go on for a while. Anyways, back to the book and try to finish this video. The Venetian criminal judiciary was immediately informed by the affair of the Duke of Candia, Bernardo Baldi, while the Doge Francisco Fracari hastened to appoint Gardenigo direct district mayor of the Levant, who was already on the island with responsibility for investigating the matter of the abducted and ritually murdered little boy named Simon, in order to obtain the truth about the crucified lambs. So in this case, they're investigating the crucified lambs, trying to find out if they were making mock crucifixions of Jesus, identifying the guilty parties and punishing them with the maximum strictness. So I have studied this material quite a bit, and I can see that even in the Freemasonic books, magazines, and other secret societies, there is a distinct hatred for Christianity, but also there is some elites at the the top of the pyramid of the Vatican, and maybe how many of the Jesuits, I'm not sure, but they are Christian in name only, and they are part of the secret societies into some kind of Luciferic, satanic, Isis, Osiris, Horus, Baal, Ra, Moloch, demonic religion and cults. It seems to be quite real. The well-known Venetian politician and humanist La Difficile Francesini, already Podesta, the magistrate of Feltre in 1439, of Vicenza in 1445, at the time Podesta, the magistrate of Verona, also occupied himself with the thorny matter. So they were trying to find out if these people were really crucifying lambs in mock ceremonies of crucifying Jesus. So that was page 66. So as you can see, this was just a simple review of the book. Ariel Toloff, Blood Passover, The Jews of Europe and Ritual Murder. And you can go online. I showed you where the website was, and you can probably find other ones. But apparently you want to find the original one after the original author withdrew his copyright. And this website I showed you, they claim to be the original one. Download the PDF, print it out, read it, highlight it, show it to people. But again, my goal is to find out who is behind this New World Order activity, the New Age activity, the destruction of even the Islamic, the Arabs religion, the Christian religion in the United States, and decency worldwide and other religions. Even according to series number 23 of my series, Aleister Crowley's book, The Book of the Law, he bashes even the Buddhist religion and the Hindu religion and other religions, and that these elitists want to rule the world like dictators and savages. And I guess they want to control the rest of us, that they don't kill. Apparently they're planning on a depopulating of the planet event, killing 90% of the people. They are bringing us all this fear propaganda with Planet X, Nibiru, the Dark Star, the Destroyer, the Anunnaki aliens, saying that humans were created by these aliens to be mind workers, and so much more. All you have to do is look into it, see all the symbolism and the crazy news, even with President Donald Trump in the news today, September 19, 2017, declaring he was going to destroy completely North Korea for attempting to create a nuclear bomb. So I wonder, does that mean right afterwards, after they've been threatening Iran, will they completely destroy Iran? How far will this go? Will World War III come? And does this blood Passover and these Ashkenazi Jewish people accused of being the controllers behind revolutions and the Illuminati and secret societies, are these the people, if they are all completely 100% human? Is there some kind of hybrid being out there? I don't know. But I look into this stuff and I report and make videos. So thank you for watching my video. In the comment section, if you feel so inclined, you can make a donation to help support my work. Rick Miracle reporting.